Dur, 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 dur. Oh, dur, dur,
Is that
dur,
the Protostar?
dur. Is that maybe? Do, do, do,
Looks like
do,
Voyager.
do, 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 do. Oh, maybe it is. Okay. Well, with that little intro out of the way, and I'm sure you're all very impressed, we're back for another episode of Star Trek Prodigy, the second
Yeah.
season. Here we are 2 years later, everybody, picking up this story here in 2024. I'm Dave Mader, here for a live stream here on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. Or you might be listening to us on audio. Unlike the first season, which kind of came out week to week, this was all dropped in one single day. So we're going to be talking
For our American friends.
for our American friends. Apparently in Canada it's going week to week, but Jaemeel can't get answers about when and where it's airing. So, take that for what it is. But in the United States, yes, it all dropped on one day. So we're kind of acknowledging the fact that it's all out there, and best LLEP intro ever, and that we're going to break this up into the 20 episode season into 4 podcasts where we talk about 5 episodes. So in this podcast, we're talking about episodes 1 through 5 of season 2, and let's introduce the panel we got here to talk it all. Back with us from the previous season of Star Trek Prodigy, we got my progeny. No, not progeny. I guess more like kin. We got Davan Skelhorn.
You're gonna run it down your nose too. Like in the
Yes, and also with us once again is Jessica Chan.
I had a whole progeny since we last did this.
Yeah, you did. That's true. You had a progeny, so.
Davan did too.
I did too, but not physically.
No, yes, I was.
But you have a little ship that you can kind of go across the screen.
Don't. I have a next time. Next time.
Davan's got all the ships for you. Spoilers ahoy! If you have not watched any of season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy, especially the first 5 episodes, which will be spoiling the hell out of these 5 episodes, I have not watched past episode 5 yet.
Me neither. I just finished episode 5. That's why I was late.
Okay. Now, I thought Chris Murphy might be joining us, but he's seen way past episode 5, so maybe we're better off without him. Not that
he's dead to us. You're dead to us, Murphy.
He's going so fast. Doesn't he know the schedule? But I thought he might join us, but it's since he knows things, what comes next, maybe for this particular episode, it's not the best. But guys, let's talk about it. Okay, so there's 5 episodes now. We don't have time probably to go through each episode in depth, but we'll try our best. Okay, well, let's start. Like the first episode of this show was called what? It was. I had this all down here. So maybe the first 2 episodes are worth talking about together. Into the Breach Part 1, Into the Breach Part 2, which kind of we catch up in episode 1 with our kids here, our main characters from the Protostar in season 1. And I'm sorry, I do have some screenshots, so we can use this for reference point. Is Murphy saying something?
Yeah, he says he finished the entire series. He says it was like Lay's chips. I couldn't stop. He misremembers the Lay's chips commercials. It was, I bet you can't eat just one. There was 5 we were supposed to watch. That's already meeting your Lay's quota. There's nothing in the Lay's commercial that says you have to eat everything.
I think that's the Pringles one. Is it once you pop, it doesn't stop?
You just can't stop.
Yeah, exactly.
If I may, maybe we can just stop to have a little bit of a recap here in terms of what's taken place since we broke at the end of season 1. So it was after that was
they
around
joined the academy.
Well, yeah, what's happened with in the real world with Prodigy. So we last talked about this on December 29th, 2022. That was the last time the 3 of us kind of talked about an episode together.
Because we split. Okay, right. So yeah, never mind. Yeah, I thought it was 2021. Okay, yeah, because they split the first season in half. Okay, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so the first, there was kind of like, it almost felt like there was 2 seasons in that first season, in a lot of ways, and we talked about that at the time. But it's been a good year and a half, and so it was kind of announced that what is going on with this show. There was the sense that Paramount, Viacom wasn't necessarily as behind it as they were when it first launched in the first season. There was a lot of stuff coming out last season with Star Trek Lower Decks. They're like, there are only two animated series in Star Trek, and they kept talking about the animated series from the 70s and Lower Decks, and they were kind of like seemingly burying Prodigy or kind of forgetting it was in the group. And everyone's like, what do you mean? There are 3 animated Star Trek shows. And I remember right from that time, Chris Murphy, Live Long in Podcast Zone, he was very passionate about it. He started going to the petition of save the season. Let's go. And then, it, like, as far as we know, this season, or at least the first couple episodes of this season that we're going to talk about in this podcast, they've been kind of done for a while. And they've been sort of sitting there idle, not really sure what the rights situation was. And if eventually it comes out on Netflix, but here in Canada, because CTV Sci-Fi has the rights, they were supposed to go week to week, but Jaemeel tries to find out what's going on, and nobody knows. And
he went to the head of CTV himself.
His name was Mr. Batista, I believe.
Yep.
And got no answers. The guy was like, I don't know. We're not really sure when that show is going to be on. So there's kind of like, it's feeling like even Star Trek is sort of given up on this show, like the upper management of Star Trek. I mean, maybe that's not the case, but that's the sense I'm getting. So, I don't know. Like we've also talked about in this podcast where a lot of the other adult Star Trek fans we know from this network, not necessarily into this show. Like I can't get Adam Woodward to watch this show. I can't get Kevin to watch this show. Ashley has her own issues with the show because it reminds her too much of Star Wars animation or something. And, and it is a kid's show. It is meant for a younger audience.
And the animation's not my favorite. It is kind of like Star Wars. Like
I felt like for the first episode of season 1, that was true. But after that, it felt very much like a different.
Once more,
they
started to put the veneer out there.
Yeah, they were built up to it, and I feel like part of that was like, I don't know, I felt like this was a brilliant move by people that knew kind of what kids expect or what they want, and kind of slowly ease them into Star Trek, which really, I mean, to young kids probably is pretty fuddy-duddy and boring if you just go right into like TNG era of like, let's sit down around my ready table and we'll have a long ethics discussion about some alien race and first contact, blah blah.
Right. Well, it kind of I remember when I used to watch even like the Ghostbusters cartoon, the real Ghostbusters, not the one with the gorilla. And like, I don't know, like Egon would say something in like science talk, and then Ray would always like translate it, for the the kids, right? So they kind of do that same thing here, where a lot of this techno babble that for an adult and a Star Trek fan, I'm like, okay, I can follow what they're saying, but all the times that Dal kind of even these episodes says, stop talking science, talk normal, speak for me,
Don't get me started on Dal. Wants to be a captain, but he's all ambition and no give a shit. Like,
right.
Yeah,
he's going nowhere fast, that fella. Like, I don't really like where they're taking his story. Like, they sort of be like leading his story towards all you really need to be in Starfleet is heroism or bravery. Like, that's where they seem to be leaning. There's a few like nods to that idea, and I'm not here for that. You got to be better than that to be in Starfleet. You got to excel. Come on now.
You got to read books.
Dal. You got to read the books.
You didn't even
Temporal
have to
Mechanics 101.
It was a beautifully nice put together training module with videos and everything.
With friend of the show, Dr. Aaron McDonald.
Yeah.
I because I mentioned to you that she was in Prodigy. I don't know if you didn't really remember from the first time before we interviewed her, and then she has a very prominent place in these 5 episodes. I can't remember which episode she was in, but maybe it was the 5th episode. Is that where she shows up?
3 or
4th.
The 4th episode. Yeah. So it was nice to see her back. I don't know. So I guess, kind of ties into the conversation we were having last night, Davan, where it's like, is Star Trek trying to, I don't know, appeal too broadly? Are they, I understand this sort of desire to appeal to a younger generation, because Star Wars, for instance, as a franchise, has had a lot of success with like the Clone Wars and their animated shows, and has, gets the kids in. and then they kind of grow up, and then they move on to the movies and the TV shows and more adult kind of stuff. Is this show can it succeed? Is kind of what I'm left wondering.
I was all for that idea, like trying to appeal to a younger audience in this way, where you just like the way they were doing it in the first season, like very much sort of like take a Star Trek idea and then like make an episode around introducing that to like a child, like a young person. And I thought that was smart. And it doesn't stray for too much, like from what Star Trek is. It's very much embodying what Star Trek is, I feel. Even with like the sort of Star Warsy animation at times. And honestly, even in this season, I don't really care about most of the Gwendolyn stuff. That stuff's kind of Star Wars for me. It's all just like silly swords and like sword fights and like so like
generic action.
Yeah, most of the Gwendolyn stuff is generic action, I find. So I don't much care for that. It's when they're back on the ship that I'm more interested. Rock Talk doing her thing, and even Jankum.
Let me ask it this way: like Jessica as well, and Davan, like you both have young kids.
Yeah.
What point do you think you can put this show on for your kids? In like maybe not now because they're still pretty young, but at what point will they want to watch this show? Or will they? And when they get to that age, will they want to? It's kind of what I wonder.
I hope so, but I would say I don't know. Okay, my oldest child has a disability, so my knowledge of what a kid's age is probably a little off. But sure. I would guess 8 to 10. I think would be a good starting point for this. Like I think it would be like that around that age range, but it could go up like even into. Like,
I was gonna say 4.
Yeah, no, I think like there's a lot. Murph would be really funny. There's definitely jokes, I guess. Yeah,
I was gonna put my 3-year-old down in front of it for these episodes, but at the time didn't work out. But
yeah, I think there's something for the whole family, kind of in the way they have a little bit of like fart jokes here and there, and like some fun humor, and like I don't know. I thought really honestly, it's a really good show, and like only as an adult watching it can you see them kind of leading kids into Star Trek ideas and okay, this episode's about time travel. Oh, this episode's about first contact. This is like you can see it, but I feel like as kids they wouldn't necessarily know they're being led, and they're giving them little breadcrumbs. So if they want or are interested, they can go and say, oh, let me look that up. I want to know more about that. But it never feels really forced, and I think they balance that edge really, really well in the show. And honestly, I only think the reason why it hadn't taken off better is just bad marketing. Like I feel like they could have pushed this so much better. They just
something they don't like.
I don't know. They just kind of let it, and I wouldn't have watched it without you guys because I just looked at it and it looked like a Nickelodeon show, and I was kind of like, ugh. And then I thought it was amazing, and then I made Michael watch it, and he was like, "Oh my god, this is great!" It's such a it's so good, it's so well done, and they just blew it. Like the fact that there's like not a Murph plush is like criminal to me. Like I want a Murph plush.
Melanoid slime worms.
Yeah, what the heck?
Like I'm with you. Like I feel like the show is good. Every time I watch it, I'm not like sad I watched an episode of it or anything. Although when I do watch it, I am sort of conscious of the fact that it's meant for sort of an adolescent or even younger. But
I forgive a bit of the swashbuckling for that reason. I'm like, it's not trying to be Star Wars necessarily. It's trying to engage the mind of
just
children.
Be exciting, just be sort of actiony a little bit more than just pure talking heads and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Like, I hope that Chris was talking about. Oh, I wonder if we'll ever have like a third season. I'm like, good luck. I feel like I'm excited to talk about it with you. For the next few weeks as we're going to go through all these installments, but at the same time I'm like we're probably not going to see anything beyond that but I'm not sad about it because I'm still getting this great like post Voyager sequel where we're learning about what's going on with Janeway and Chakotay and now the Doctor is in this season. My
favorite part of this season so far is the Doctor by far.
Yeah, like all those characters on Voyager, I have a lot of affection for. So for them to be back in the mix, and I feel like I like Rock Talk and Dal and all of them too. Like they have grown on me, although I have I like some of them more than others, but
Yeah.
it's but yeah, like it's exciting. Okay, so I feel like we're probably in a good place to get going with the episode review. I'm trying not to dwell on any one episode for too long. If we're slowing down, just help nudge me along here. The show is a must
Pick up the pace,
Pick it
Mater.
up. All right, here we go. So, Into the Breach Part 1 here, directed by Ben Hibben and written by Dan and Kevin, the creators of the show.
The Hagemans.
We had like a whole like fight here in like the holodeck to start it off, and this is all about Murph showing that he's the badass fighter guy.
He's the security officer.
Yeah, he's on the fast track security, and so there's kind of like this sequence for the first part of the episode where Janeway is calling upon all of the Prodigy characters, the Protostar crew from last season to come back. Murph is on the fast track for security. Now, when we left them at the end of season 1, I was kind of confused because it seemed like they were going off to Voyager at the end of last season. Remember, you kind of said that, Davan. You're like, hey, I think they're going. She's like, oh, I got big things for us. But it seems like there's actually been some time here that's gone between the seasons. I thought they were already made warrant officers, but it seems like they are now trying to become cadets outright.
Cadets, yeah.
Yeah.
Cadet uniforms, anyway.
Yeah, we're seeing these cadet uniforms.
Do you notice the name? Oh, and they have their own friggin' Nova Squad, friggin' Red Squad's here.
Red Squad's here, yes. Nova Squadron, they're called, though.
Yeah. No, same thing. It's trouble.
It's trouble, and they're always bad, of course.
Always.
Always.
Hubris.
Most admirals, Jellicoe comes back to be, a bad admiral here. Zero is called upon as she's looking at the cadets, and the physical touch is kind of referenced there. How Zero as Medusan cannot physically touch anybody. So what else is going on here? Dal kind of daydreaming, looking onto the sky. He gets the call from Janeway to head up here in San Francisco. And they all are reunited. There's kind of a family gathering here as they are brought back to the new Voyager. That's which I'm going to get to here. They're picked up by the Doctor. So talk about yeah. Now, have you guys all seen Total Recall?
Yeah.
You know how like Robert Ricardo's like the Johnny Cab character.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. This animation of him reminds me of
Fair
Johnny
enough.
Cab.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't look that up.
You gotta, like it's when Arnold Schwarzenegger's trying to get away from
Yeah,
Michael
yeah.
Ironside.
I didn't know.
And he goes, "Welcome to Johnny Cab," and he's like this little robot.
I had no idea.
So anyway, I was like, "Hey, Johnny Cab." I mean, the Doctor. But it's great.
I was all in at this point.
Oh,
When
yeah.
he stepped off there, I was like, all right, I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah. Way to pull out the big guns, right? So they head up in the shuttle with the Doctor. Where are we going? Are we going to Voyager? Well, and we already kind of know that the original Voyager that went to the Delta Quadrant got put into Geordi's Fleet Museum on Athen Prime. So we get the debut of Voyager A. The next generation of Voyagers, a bigger ship than the first Voyager, especially those nacelles. David, as a ship guy.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the Voyager A?
Well, it's got a nice big honking cetacean ops, which I appreciate.
Sure does.
There be whales here.
There be whales here, Admiral.
No, but honestly, you talk about the nacelles, it's a good looking ship.
I like it.
Yeah. No complaints.
Yeah, so they're coming on board. It's they don't have they have a carpet in the middle, but it's kind of the floors are a little bit more stark than the old Voyager. Their hallway is a little bit wider, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
And there's Nova Squadron.
I mean, not Discovery Turbolift big, but big.
Big. Yeah. We see the Nova Squadron here, including this Vulcan character whose name escapes me right now, but
An Illyrian.
An Illyrian, yeah.
Her name escapes you. Really, you didn't catch that.
I just didn't remember it. Yes. What's her name? The Vulcan?
Well, it's Majel, but it's spelled Majel with an apostrophe. It's a little nod to Majel Barrett Roddenberry there.
I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah, Majel.
she's a Vulcan with a different kind of a haircut than most other Vulcans. So, and she even's got some color in it. So,
totally Breaking Bad.
She is a wild one,
Rebel.
for a Vulcan. Anyway, they talk about the Nova Squadron, how they're the best of the best, and how they aspire. But we're going to see that they're going to turn out to be whatever. I guess we had our Tellarites reunited here.
This is what I want to get into more, though, in this show, is this uneasiness and almost like hatred those two Tellarites have for each other.
Doctors. I mean, Jango Pog is like a teenager or what? Like a young man. Like that man is like a like an older officer. It's like, Mike, he's got no excuse. What a jerk.
He has 5 fingers, that the older one, and Jankum only has 3. Come on.
Yep.
I also surprised they brought back the Tellarite Doctor, because they have Robert Picardo Doctor now, and it seems like having 2 medical officers is a little extra, but that's what they're going with.
Well, he's more the liaison sort of guy, I guess, the Doctor in this. He's kind of...
Yeah. I'm glad he's here, and I guess because they don't have the hologram Janeway anymore, they're kind of giving some of that role here to Robert Picardo in this season, sort of to be like the chaperone or the supervisor of the cadets.
Like, another hologram. So he's like, well, not just a hologram. Right? Like, I'm top of the line here. Like, I'm the best.
He's taking them all around the different parts of Voyager A, including this engine room, which was cool looking, different kind of warp core.
Yeah, interesting looking warp core. This looks like the core is inside that glass container.
It almost looks like it's like dripping or something, the plasma and stuff. It's very different. But Jankum's happy to be there.
It could be maybe like due to the bioneural circuitry. It could be like one of those types of components.
It looks like a whole new design for a warp core. So I'm curious to see if we get more of that in these episodes. Murph goes over to battle simulations, and he's very happy over there with all his stuff. He's the security guy.
You said how many holodecks were there? There was like an insane amount of holodecks. I thought they said like 9 or like a lot. There's a lot of them.
It was 16, wasn't it?
16, yeah. It was like a crazy amount.
16? Is that what he said?
It was all, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 16 holodecks.
I wonder if that's because because when the original Voyager stuck in the Delta Quadrant, they only had like 4 holodecks, and they were very high demand. And maybe they're like, we can't have it again. So, in case there's
if this name is cursed, and they end up in the Delta Quadrant too.
Zero, of course, over with the medical team, as that seems to be Zero's path as the doctor, or the medical officer of their team. And then to it's the cetacean ops here with Rock Talk, hanging out with the whales.
She's like cetaceans.
Jillian.
And then they're like, okay,
Jillian.
Jillian. And then Dal's role here is like, okay, and all the exciting stuff for command, reading books, which Dal is not into.
No, but he's a slacker. He's gonna wash out.
Yeah,
get out of here, bud.
But that's realistic for the command officers would have more study, and it's not as glorious, in those ways.
Get it together, Dal. Get it together, bud.
This is the part where I feel like I as like an adult watching a kid's show, was like his behavior in this part was like really irritating to me. But then I have to remind myself that he is like a teenager. So
right, like, and that's sometimes with these characters, because they are so kid-like. They they're like, they don't even quite act like teenagers to me. Sometimes they act more like 10-year-olds would, So anyway, is this where they're talking about Janeway's hiding something, and they're suspicious of what's going on here on the ship? I think that's where they're coming up. Rock Talk wants nothing to do with it. Rock Talk, you're going to mess up my chances of getting into Starfleet Academy. And then we had this whole conversation with Dal and Gwyn on the FaceTime.
He was the only one that was feeling kind of miserable in the role he was assigned. He was restless, and they were all fine and happy with what they had been given.
He says later on, she's not my girlfriend. She is totally your girlfriend, bud. Come on, But now that I've watched Fallout season 1, which Ella Purnell is in. She's the lead of that show. I can't help but connect Gwyn to her now.
Oh my god, I
Because
never
they
even
both
made
have
that.
giant eyeballs.
I never
Yes,
made
both
that
of-
connection that they were the same.
It's the same person, right?
Yeah. Wow.
The voice of Gwyn is Ella Purnell from that show, and so I have even more of appreciation for her talent coming into this season. Having watched that show, which I thought she was excellent in. So anyway, Gwen's going to her home planet to try to convince her species that Starfleet's not bad, prevent the Civil War before it happens, kind of change the timeline. Is the plan here. And then, we watch a Bolian give birth in this first episode.
There's no time to be talking about time. We don't have the time.
Exactly.
I really like this moment that they passed. I really put together the fact that they're both non-corporeal beings, so that the doctor can kind of advise Zero on this I don't know, just feeling of wanting to be more human or being able to touch people or connect people in that way. I really like that.
Yeah. Apparently Bolian birth's very colorful.
Well, I mean, they have caustic fluids, right? So there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, I'm sure.
Yeah. So then, what else do we have in this episode? Dal talking to Zero. Is this where they go on their investigation?
Annoying.
Oh yeah, Rock Talk saying don't. Yeah, they go on their little hunt and they eventually find this cloaked ship.
Dal should have washed out already. Dal kind of sucks. He was really pissing me off in these episodes.
I felt like they kind of they pulled him back a little, which I find a little annoying when they do that with cartoons. Is someone has progressed, and I feel like he progressed a lot in season 1, and he regressed a lot in these first few episodes. I felt like he learned some of these lessons already, and he went backwards a bit.
Yeah. It seems because they have to remind us what is sort of integral to his character or his nature, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I'm with you. I felt like it was like 2 steps back here with Dal for this beginning of the show. I'm sure he'll rise to the challenge by the end, but it's for now they're it's not that easy. Can't have it too easy. Anyway, we find out about the Infinity, this cloaked ship that Janeway has with temporal shielding and all these things. I guess not all of it's revealed in this scene that we're looking at right now, but that's what they kind of find out about. So that's sort of the mystery we're left with at the end of the first episode. I'm just gonna get that down. Okay, let's get into episode 2, which is what's it called? Into the Breach? No, yeah, Into the Breach.
This is where it sort of dips for me for a little bit.
I was gonna say, quick note about episode 1, a tiny little bit about what Rock had been up to and how she solved how to stop triples from replicating, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah, Rock Talk's great.
I like Rock Talk. Into the Breach Part 2, written by Aaron J. Waltke, directed by Andrew Schmidt and Patrick Krebs. This episode focuses a lot on Gwyn and what she's up to. We see that she's going on this how do you say it? Sacagawea? No,
Sacagawea.
Sacagawea, that's her. And the Sacagawea is the ship going on here. Gwyn is with a Trill officer who's flying her to her home planet. What's this planet called again? Solum. Yes. In all its glory, pre-Civil War, as Gwyn beams down in front of everybody when they don't have transporters. It's like a pre-warp civilization, right? Or they're about to hit warp travel. Akuchi Moya, yeah.
Akuchi Moya.
That's the ship. The USS Akuchi Moya.
Akuchi Moya. So Gwyn beams down. She goes into the Great Hall where the leaders of the Vaut Makot or whatever they're called. Yes. Who apparently wear blindfolds all the time.
See, this one felt like Star Wars to me.
This felt like Lord of the Rings to me, like some blind
Gwyn stuff. There's been a bit of hyperbole. Coming into here, there were all these reviews saying this is such a great season, and it's good and everything, but that it's some of the best Star Trek ever and all this stuff. I'm not feeling it. Not feeling that. So
I wouldn't. I don't know if it's the best Star Trek, but it's certainly good. I guess like I don't necessarally feel like if I watch something that reminds me of something else that it's not legitimate. If they borrow something from Lord of the Rings or whatever, but
I just meant more enjoyment level. I didn't find these first 5 episodes that spectacular. Really? There were some that were better than others, but I was a little bit underwhelmed.
I really liked it, but
but this other character is back. This villain from season 1, Essentia, is back. Essentia is throwing some shade at Gwen, saying she doesn't know anything.
And some knives.
Saying she's no good. Don't listen to her. She's a dummy. She's going to get us all killed. And Gwen tries to make her please, but these blindfolded leaders are not having it, and they kind of kick Gwen out. And then Gwen kind of has to escape, I think, away from them and escape down the back alley. She tries to beam out on the Sacagawea or the Akuchi Moya. But
Akuchi Moya.
Right. Sorry, Chakotay. But she can't reach the shuttle because does the shuttle get
blown up? Yeah, I felt that was kind of Criminal Minds-y to me. Like I always hated Criminal Minds because was it Criminal? Yeah, they always like, oh look, let me give you a nice touching moment with this character. Oh, boom, dead. Like I just like
You're
they
dead,
could have
Trill.
made her the Trill faceless, and we just would have been like, oh, that's sad. No, they had to be like, oh, what a nice woman. Wasn't she so nice? She was so friendly. She's dead now. Like it was so mean.
Like what they did, like what Discovery did with what's her name. Like they finally gave her an episode and they killed her in that episode. You know
Ariam?
I mean? With the robot face, Ariam.
Yeah, they did. They're like, guess what? We're giving you a whole thing, but you're dead, and we'll bring you back for one episode later on. Time travel.
I felt like this storyline was like kind of the 2 parts for me. I felt like it worked well in the sense that I think we followed the kids so much in season 1, and like they were the center of everything, and they were these kids against this big force. But like now in the wider story, they're showing how outgunned, outclassed they are, right? Like that's what Dal's frustrated with. He's kind of a nobody. Like they were a big one with their own ship, and they were calling the shots. And now, I mean, he's part of a very small part of a big crew, and he's kind of a nobody. And in this, she's being outclassed as well, right? She's nothing against going up against Essentia, who's like centuries old and had all this stuff for. How old is she? I can't remember. At least 50-something years old, and she's outmatched essentially in going up against someone like this. And her mission was a little naive, I guess, in a way.
Right. Yeah, no, it's well said. I think that's a good observation there. I guess we're at this part of the second episode where we first see the wormhole, this time wormhole, and Janeway's trying to get a message through it, or they're contemplating taking their cloak ship, which is called the Infinity, through it.
That's a bit insensitive of you. We prefer the term celestial temple. Thanks.
Oh, I see. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a different wormhole, isn't it?
No, all of them.
They're all celestial. They're all celestial temples. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we get more with Majel here, and the cadets.
Yep, Majel.
Our crew here. Is this where? I'm trying to
Magel's no. Oh, geez, Talin. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's kind of a different. Yeah. Talin's cool. Yeah. So somebody tries to talk to Janeway through the wormhole, but we don't know who it is. It's like, don't come through the wormhole.
We didn't, but didn't we though? I don't know. Like this whole mystery wasn't very mysterious.
Chakotay,
I didn't feel, like it was pretty obvious. And then like finally in episode 5, they're like, it's Chakotay. It's like, well, yes, of course it was Chakotay. It all started when he went through the thing. Like, I don't know. It's for kids, I know, but
we haven't gotten there yet, though. That hasn't happened yet. So.
I know. Oh yes, that's true.
There are only so many options. That's true, though.
Yeah.
So then they're like, "What's happening here?" This is where Dal shows up.
Just falls through the ceiling. Yeah.
Falls through the ceiling. Oh yeah, this is what. Oh, don't. We're not gonna talk about your top secret cloak ship or something. And then the doctor's like, "Janeway wants to talk to you right now." But we get a cutaway here where Gwen's still running away from the guards on the planet. And
she's like, meet me in Shuttle Bay 3, but there is no Shuttle Bay 3.
There's no Shuttle Bay 3. There's only 2. And so this is where Gwen finds our old friend, the Diviner, when he was a younger version of himself. Progeny, how are you? This
Just looking
younger,
at the stars.
he's a
Just
more
chilling.
handsome version of the Diviner.
Yeah. Long hair.
Yeah, those cheekbones not sunken in yet. You know, there's he's ready to go here. But yeah, so they meet. Then we come back to Voyager, where Janeway kind of gives this whole debriefing to our characters, the Prodigy characters, explaining that that they were planning to take this mission into the wormhole, the Celestial Temple, to save Chakotay, knowing that he got away with his Birdman. His Birdman got shot, and then he managed to send this message to Janeway, just before he remote launched the Protostar to go through the wormhole back in time to go to Tars Lamora and to be there when they all find it at the beginning of season 1. So they're trying to save, as two objectives: save Chakotay and maintain this timeline that's now been set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought Janeway's speech here was good. He was my number one, my first officer. I got to try to save him no matter what. There's some good stuff here. Talking about the wormhole and the mission and everything else.
She also explains that their time is synced here. So an hour here is an hour on the other side as well.
Oh, good point. I missed all that. So then back to the Diviner and Gwen, who she kind of explains who she is and why, that the Federation's good and that he is, he's her father. She's actually a clone of him. He's, but
they were explaining if that's how they always reproduce, or if that was just because he was in the future.
No, because they I think they mock her about it later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's there. Most of them are not clones. I think it's kind of because he had no one to procreate with. And so that's why he went that route.
Just wanted some progeny.
He wanted a progeny and Dreadnought and all that. Does Dreadnought show up in this scene?
Yeah, she tries to fight him.
Oh yeah, he shows up, but at this point, the Dreadnought is benevolent.
It's a records keeper, robot, librarian robot.
I love that Jimmy Simpson is still here and he's still doing this voice for the 2 lines he does for Dreadnought here and there. I wonder if that's part of what the Viacom leadership doesn't like about the show. That it's too expensive. They have John Noble and Jimmy Simpson, and
which is all unnecessary. They could just get voice actors.
Yeah, they got the dude from Hamilton is the Andorian guy. They got some big names here.
Jaemeel.
Yeah, it's very silly.
It's not. They're not keeping the cost low from the casting point of view, unless they got a sweetheart deal from these guys. But somehow.
Honestly, I've been doing a lot of studying on voice acting since the X-Men show, and actors generally don't make the best voice actors. I find you're better off just hiring voice actors. Yeah, they don't make the best voice actors.
Well, it depends what you want. If you want someone that is just like Seth Rogen, and Seth Rogen sounds like Seth Rogen, and that's all you want, then you're great.
Yeah, they've really got to stop putting Seth Rogen in cartoons.
I feel like John Noble is John Noble. You want a John Noble voice, you get John Noble. But
right. Some of them are. Obviously, bringing back Kate Mulgrew makes sense, and Robert Picardo makes sense. But
that's where your money should go.
Well, we know that Ella Purnell is, in her own right, a live-action actor, the star of Fallout, and she maybe that's also part of what the show has going against it, is that all of these names have busy schedules. Who does Jenkin Pog?
Mantzoukas.
Mantzoukas, yeah, he's a successful guy in his own right.
Yeah,
anyway, all across the board, they got some a good team here, but I just don't know how expensive the show is to make. And that's part of what I wonder is if that's what's holding it back. Chris Pratt doesn't need to be the lead in every major cartoon franchise.
I'll take him over Seth Rogen. I was surprised that I liked Chris Pratt's Mario.
I actually like Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong, but anyway. So I'm trying. I'm yada yada in this second episode a little bit, guys.
Good, because my brain did too.
I didn't really understand what Nova Squadron was going to do with this knowledge. they had knowledge they weren't supposed to have and what they were going to out them. Like she was going to out Janeway. Is that what she was going to do? Like, or she thought they were responsible for the ship existing. I was a little unsure as what their goal was. Like, what was Majel going to do?
Red Squad is always a pain. It's really the point here.
Yeah.
And just like Morn, this Lurian never shuts up.
Mm-hmm. They anyway, there's a fight that breaks out here between the Red Squad and the Prodigy kids. Somehow Rock Talk and the Lurian and this other guy get off the ship, but the Infinity launches with Majel on board.
Yeah, he pushes it was like Janeway protocols launch sequence.
It was like an autopilot that couldn't be turned off or something. And they're like, Captain, the Infinity, or Admiral, the Infinity is launching. What? Get them in here. But it's too late. They're pulled into this celestial temple. And
the Infinity's going beyond.
They're going to infinity and beyond, yes. And that is the end of the second episode.
Yeah, that was the only part of like these 5 episodes I found a little rough. Like, but I get it. They had to somehow, like, let's face it, these are kids. Like, they're not going to be entrusted with some mission that's interesting enough to have a show about it. So they had to kind of finagle some reason why they were able to go off on their own and do a mission. But it was a little contrived how they made that happen. Like,
yeah,
oops,
yeah, they're like, well, this is what we need to get these characters into the past, and we need to get them onto this shuttle in the least problematic way, and this is what they do.
Started to lose me in that second episode. I was all in, and then I was like, oh no.
Worldmind is hung up on the fact that the Voyager A we're told it has 26 decks, but Majel tells us in the turbo lift that one guy says to deck 35.
35 seems like a lot.
There's no way that ship has 35 decks.
No.
So
he's lying, Murphy.
Maybe that guy in Red Squad should be kicked out.
Liar.
Yeah. You know, these first 2 episodes were rehash and setup. Well, they are, but here we are. So let's get into episode 3. So this episode 3 is called "Who Saves the Saviors," written by Aaron McNamara and directed by Sung Shin. So this takes us as we follow the Infinity into the wormhole, along with Majel and all them. They're trying to get out of here, but they crash land on the Solum. But after the Civil War, here in the 52 years in the future, later in the 25th century, and they're talking about, oh look, this is right before Chakotay escaped. Well, I guess more apropos, the Protostar was liberated here, but it hasn't happened yet. They haven't caught up to that point at this time where Chakotay will send the ship back. Back on Voyager, they're trying to figure out what to do back in the 50 years ago. Is this where Rock Talk and Murph show up to kind of explain what just happened, and the fact and how Dal and all of them ended up on the Infinity? So that's all kind of explained, here. And they're trying to figure out what to do. We go back to the Prodigy guys in the future, and they're talking about the wormhole. They're kind of just getting caught up here in terms of what's happening. Oh yeah, and then Majel tears off her thing, covers up her Vulcan ears to say, "We can't let everybody know who we are. We have to maintain the Temporal Prime Directive here." So they take off their tops of their cadet uniforms and their comm badges.
I didn't catch that was a reference. Michael pointed that out, like a reference to Spock hiding his ears.
Spock hiding his ears, sometimes with a bandana, sometimes with a toque. He has got all kinds of
injured in a rice accident.
Yeah, but just then they all get captured. Right after they took off their uniforms, they get captured by these people. Then we go back to the past here with Gwyn. Oh no, this is when Essentia is telling these council, you gotta get rid of that Gwyn. She's gonna be trouble. And they're like, whatever, we kicked her out. Who cares? And she's like, she's gotta spread lies and propaganda. Then the diviner shows up and says, "Hello, I'd like you to meet my progeny."
My progeny from the future.
And he kind of vouches for Gwyn, who he's now on her side, showing that they have the same heirloom and all this kind of stuff. But Essentia is like, no, she's BS. You can't listen to her. She likes those Federation types and those Starfleet types. Then we go back to this episode like toggles between the two storylines a lot. Okay, then we're back here with Dal in the future, and all them. They're prisoners, and they get thrown into a cell with Chakotay and his Birdman first officer. Before they had managed to kind of get the protostar off.
What is his name, like Ambeak or something? It rhymes with beak.
Look at the beak on Mbeak or something.
Yeah, or something like that.
If Murphy, if you know his name, just let us know in the comments. I can't remember right now. But every time I see him, I think of Star Trek Lower Decks and Peanut Hamper.
Deke.
Right.
Deke.
Where's my Peanut Hamper? It takes me too long now sometimes.
Old raw dog over here.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm not trying to steal your bird, man.
I'm not trying to steal your bird, man.
It's one of my favorite all-time lines, but I.
Are they the same? He's the same species as the dog.
Keep it in your pants, sister. I'm not trying to steal your bird, man.
Still one of my best ever.
Hamper's great.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're talking to Chakotay, who really gets like the first real time we're seeing Chakotay in this show. We've seen a hologram Chakotay, and we've seen recordings, but we're getting like Robert Beltran, acting against the characters here. It's fun. I was you see the Birdman with his bird legs. He's not wearing the standard regulation boots, I'm afraid. Anyway, so they're passing it off to Chakotay and Birdman that they are just a bunch of harmless raiders who are passing through and want to help them because it doesn't seem like Chakotay is mounting any kind of rescue or any kind of an escape plan here at this point.
Yeah,
Birdman likes Chakotay as his commanding officer because Chakotay's a vegetarian.
Well, that's right, and Birdman
it's delicious.
Yeah, Birdman will not be going for that. Yeah, Chakotay is a vegetarian. Anyway, what else?
I think they have a conversation at this point as to whether they should help or not, and then they had the conversation that maybe this time thing was a loop all along, and they were always meant to help them, and that's
right. It's a predestination paradox.
Yeah.
It turns out that's not the case. But, we don't know that yet.
So, didn't you read Temporal Mechanics 101? The past is always the past. It doesn't change or we wouldn't be here. He's like, oh.
But it does. Unless unless the past is directly influenced by the future, which you're in. So then we get this whole Essentia versus Gwyn fight in the pit where they have to surrender their heirlooms. And I guess this whole ritual is about going into the pit. Only one comes out, and whoever comes out, it's like a trial by combat.
This is Star Wars. It's pits, it's swords, it's
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But
this episode was kind of not great either to me.
I just wondered why their art is so Egyptian looking.
Very Egyptian looking. Yeah.
Some of it's kind of interesting.
But we finding out that that there's this stuff in the pit, these little metallic
Sarlaccs.
Sarlacc. I think it's Sarlacc.
No, it was a Star Wars reference.
It's metachlorians, Davan.
Yeah, it's metachlorians. Anyway, this is the stuff that the heirlooms are made out of, apparently, that Gwyn can somehow interact with through psychically, as can Essentia. And this whole, fight breaks out here. I guess they were trying to go for something like sort of imaginative. I almost got like Green Lantern vibes here at one point because their imaginations are creating the constructs. But yeah, like sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I said I didn't mind it except for the fact that she announced exactly what her plan was so that she could stop her. I was like,
right.
Gwen, just do it. Don't tell her you're gonna get out of the hole. Just go and get out of the hole.
Yeah.
I don't have to defeat you. I just have to climb up this ladder over here.
That I made with the swords you threw at me. Yeah. The lesson being that violence isn't always the answer.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, so they're working with Chakotay back in the future for their escape plan. They use Jankum Pog's confiscated arm to kind of hatch this whole plan. As you know, he can remote control it with his tricorder or his iPad or whatever. That I'm kind of yada yada that stuff.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Birdman, this would be a bit of a stinker of an episode.
You love that Birdman.
I do like Birdman.
Yeah.
Look at him.
What?
Amazing.
What happened to the rest of the crew? Of the Protostar? Are they all dead?
Dead.
You know, only these two survived.
I think that's what we're supposed to assume, and they don't want to talk about it because it's a kid's
I don't
show.
remember. I feel like they talked about that at some point, but I forget.
Yeah, I feel like it was
There wouldn't be a
mentioned
big
too,
crew here, but you know.
No.
But you know, presumably they had more
It'd
than
be a bridge crew at least.
It'd be more than 2 people, I would think, on that ship. But anyway, so they're escaping. More fight here with Gwen and Essentia. Da da da. She throws the spikes at her. She then runs out, and she's gonna get out back here. They're helping Chakotay escape. They're like, "We'll create a diversion." He's like, "That's quite generous for just a bunch of raiders passing through." He's like, "You know, it's cool. You have to save the Federation. That sounds good." Chakotay doesn't have a lot of time to really think about it here, but he's like, "Okay, cool. You should think about joining Starfleet if you ever get to the Federation. Bye." Adric Hu. Oh, that's a cool name.
Look at the beak on a Dreek.
Look at the beak on a Drake. That was the line.
It's like, oh, I didn't mean to ruffle your feathers. He just keeps accidentally.
Did Chakotay say that's actually pretty good?
Yeah.
We're gonna fly the coop. I think that was one of the ones.
Fly the coop.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
one. There was one here that he appreciated. So
That was
Dave-
the funniest part of this episode. Actually, that was a good gag.
So what happens here is that Chakotay and Adric Hu, they still manage to get to the Protostar. They still manage to get it going, but they actually get inside it in this reality because Dal left a rifle that Chakotay was able to use to kind of fight off the attackers, and so him and Adric get away instead of getting, apprehended here, and they fly off with the Protostar into the wormhole, which is not the timeline that they were trying to sort of maintain here. So
I don't understand. So it wasn't. This wasn't always meant to be. This wasn't. So what the heck were they going to escape before they got there?
unclear if they had not been captured and then thrown into the cell with Chakotay, then Chakotay would have launched his thing anyway. Apparently, right? That would
I
have happened.
guess, yeah. It just showed they weren't doing anything, which was confusing.
But they hadn't caught up to the point where it's something, so
Yeah.
it's hard. We don't really know what the circumstances were, but as soon as they get back to the ship that has all these temporal scanners on it or whatever, they realize that something really wrong has happened here. And this is where we see that Gwen is being Marty McFly'd out of existence here as her hands go through the ladder spikes and she's falling, which Essentia is able to capitalize on and basically get out of. Well, first she tries to kill Gwen again. And then she managed to get out of the pit first, which the diviner's like, "No, my progeny! Where is she?"
There she is.
There she is. She's fallen into the pit, which then they seal up. Oh yeah, and we see the younger Essentia, who seems less down with the older Essentia, based on facial expressions.
Older versions of these Tau Nikon people or whatever they're called aren't nice. You just age into dicks.
They turned into the diviner is a monster when we meet him, right? A complete but he's such a nice guy at this point, it's very different.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about where that's going. I hope it's not a sense because she's being very vague about their future together. She's giving him little hints about what kind of person he was and that he wasn't very nice. But I hope that's not part of you should have told me the truth and now I'm going to turn against you and be against you.
Oh, it's definitely going to be that.
This is why I'll be evil now. Because, what he tells us in the first season is that the war kind of, changed his whole perspective because he was all pro Starfleet when they first showed up, but then his opinion changed over the war, and he came to hate them, right? And then he came up eventually with this plan to create the virus and send it back and destroy the Federation and all the things we saw in the first season. So I don't know, it's hard to understand how he becomes what he becomes from this person, but maybe they'll show us.
Wouldn't happen to a Ferengi. War's good for business.
There you go. So episode 4, we're into now. This one titled Temporal Mechanics 101, written by Keith Sweet II. Is he as good as Keith Sweet the first? I don't know.
Or Keith Sweat.
Is Keith Sweet. And Ben Hibben directed. He's back for this one. So in this one, we got Rock Talk looking for Murph. Murph is looking at stuff. I don't know. We'll come back to Murph.
I think in that little section you went past, I think if you was it the scene or maybe they pan out and there's like an outline of a person, like all you see is an outline.
Oh yeah, he's talking to somebody, right? Yeah, he's talking to sort of like the temporal Cold War guy who we never found out who it was, but the guy that would talk to us like
yeah, we did find out who that was. It was Daniels. No, it was Archer.
We don't really know who it was. We never found out for sure who it was. Not an Enterprise. Like there's been theories that it's Archer, and it could be Archer. But it was never really revealed because they kind of abandoned that whole temporal Cold War thing in the 4th season. But anyway, they're trying to figure out how to help. Yeah, so we're kind of we're jumping between Janeway in the 2384 era and them in like the 25th century and the 52 years in the future. We see the diviner, the old diviner is there in the future time because they're like, well, how did the protostar escape and how did all this happen? Let's track them down. Let's find the other prisoners and track them down. But the timeline's been changed. So if the diviner doesn't go back in time now, then Gwyn wouldn't exist, right? That's also changed here, how did the diviner get back in time? Did he just go through the wormhole too?
I feel like they shot like kind of cannon ships. That's what it felt like. They kind of blasted themselves through the wormhole or something.
Yeah, him and Essentia were kind of sent through, and a few others, and he happened to be the one to make it or something.
It wasn't very targeted either. They didn't know where they would end up on the other side. So
right, and Essentia showed up way later.
Yeah,
than he did. All right, so just trying to remind myself of all those details. They're actually able to get a communication established here between the two time periods through the wormhole. And they're kind of explaining that Gwyn is being sort of erased from existence, that the timeline's changing, that that's got to catch up to all of them eventually. But because they're at the epicenter of it, they're sort of shielded from it for temporarily. So save Gwyn. We get the message here. They start getting messages in the future on like, who's sending this message? Is this message coming from Voyager? No. I don't know.
At this point, I can't remember if I'm going to maintain this thing, but when they were doing this and getting the messages and talking back and forth, I was like, oh my god, are they like Bill and Tedding this whole thing? and that was my theory because I was like, they're going to go back and do all this themselves at some point, and then freaking I can't remember who it was. One of Janeway's officers was just like, exactly what I was thinking. Janeway's officers was like, I don't know, but strange things are afoot. And I was like, it is Bill and Ted.
They're very much afoot.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
We see in this episode, Gwyn's having these visions of somebody talking to her, as she's kind of being erased from the timeline, with young diviner here. She's sort of struggling because he finds her at the bottom of the pit. They're back here in the 25th century. I want to call her Talin, but it's Majel. I don't know. They have more stuff with Dal and her. Guys, sorry. I'm just trying to... Yeah, because they get the message to go to the pit in the future time.
Yeah.
And then they're able to kind of float down with Zero. That comes in handy, that Zero can fly.
Yep.
For these kinds of things. I hate that Dal is still wearing those stupid friggin' shoes.
Maybe he's got weird feet. Have we ever seen his feet?
I think it's just part of his image. Anyway, so
he's too cool for school. He's too cool for Starfleet boots too.
We see here that they're seeing like sort of the echo of Gwyn from the present day with Voyager being sort of shown to them in the future. I couldn't wrap my head around the timey-wiminess of any of this, what the hell was going on. try to explain it to us, but it's not very
She's
clear.
basically
They just
like
say she's-
a cat. She's
Yeah,
is
exactly.
and does not exist in this moment. She
Superposition.
Yeah.
Superposition. Okay. Well, they give us some science talk for that, but even that I wasn't quite clear on.
It's a Schrodinger's cat thing. That was the exact analogy I was going to use to explain it.
Schrodinger's
That's
cat.
pretty
They
funny.
do even say that. I think Majel
Oh,
says
do they?
like Schrodinger's cat. Basically, she
Oh,
does.
yeah.
She does and does not exist in this moment, and like until things settle,
Yeah.
she'll be in this state of flux
She'll be
until
both.
something
Should we
kind of
both?
Both and neither.
comes down. Yeah.
And so Dow's like, speak English, everybody. I haven't read any of the books.
Yeah.
Temporal Mechanics 101. So the Diviner back with Gwen.
Rock Talk's read all the books.
Rock Dog definitely reads all the books.
I did like this is episode 1, but I like he's like explain to me as if I'm a doll.
Yeah.
Explain this to me as if I'm Dow.
Well, yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And not somebody smarter. So they managed to Jankenpog somehow turns the Infinity into a time machine, which they decide that they need in order to go save Gwen. So
The way Worf did in that episode.
which episode are they referencing? Parallels?
Yeah, the one where he's like slipping. Yeah, and he thinks he's won the trophy and like.
That's the one where he
Yeah.
has a baby with Troy. That
Yeah.
episode. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember him building anything.
He doesn't really in that episode. I was kind of like, what did Worf do? I think
No,
Data,
he didn't do it. It was just happening to him. They're just going to use that
Okay.
methodology.
That methodology. I think it was mostly like alternate universe Data that figured all that out for Worf in that episode. Anyway, so what else? Oh yeah, Temporal Mechanics with Aaron McDonald. We're up to that part of the episode.
Yay! Best part of the episode.
It's like a series of dominoes. You know, this was good. This could be like just be brought out as like its own clip from the episode.
See the marketing. They should have just like that. If they were good, they would have released the whole episode like of like that, like on on some streaming or TikTok or Insta or something.
So in conclusion, don't mess around with time, kids.
I wouldn't
It'll
build a
always
time
cause you
machine.
headaches.
Neither should you. You know? What's it? Doesn't the doctor say at one point, "I have a headache and I don't even have a head"? I think that's the 5th episode. Anyways,
I love that part. That was great.
Yeah, Aaron McDonald. So they kind of
Friend of the show.
all showing us all these things. Friend of the show. She's been on here. Yes, had the pleasure. So then they get the time machine going, which does look like it's time ship looks like it's from the Matrix. Yeah, it kind of looks like the Nebuchadnezzar here.
Especially Michael pointed out when like the little bots start crawling all over it. Looks just like a scene. I was like, oh yeah, it does.
Yeah. So they
definitely, especially in these first few episodes of this season, they really, as far as the aesthetic goes, they're really like, let's just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. We've got Egypt, we've got like the Matrix, we've got like Star Warsy looking stuff, Game of Thrones.
It's like Stargate a little bit.
Stargate. You know, maybe just every sci-fi franchise ever in one.
Yeah.
We'll even have. Yeah, I kind of like this whole sequence here where, like, you know, they're getting the time machine going and this, like, drone thing comes through and then the glass, like, gets broken, but then it gets, like, kind of reversed and sucked away. This kind of looked neat. And then this is where Gwen and the Diviner sort of meet the Infinity, which is now in the cave, you know, and they're trying to save her. They go, "Hey, Diviner!" And she's like, "Don't worry, he's a good Diviner still."
Still divine.
Still divine. He is. What else? Yeah, they give her a temporal hypospray, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently it is. And the ship will never fly again, but then it starts to fly. You hear Jacob-Pog's like, "There's no way the ship can fly," and then it actually floats. He will never get off the ground. What happens next? Sorry, guys, I have too many screenshots here. He's also part of the problem.
Yeah, they take off, and she's like, I think Asensia says, "See, we have enemies within our ranks. They're from within."
They're from within. Yes. They head back here. Oh yeah, there's kind of a moment here with Zero and Majel where they kind of acknowledge that they're into the science stuff together.
I think Zero's trying to make a little bit of a move on Majel, but Majel doesn't notice.
Is this romantic? Is that what it was?
I think so, because that like Zero was thinking back to when they saw the Starfleet cadets like kind of touching hands, and then Zero was kind of like,
Oh, maybe. Okay.
so I think Zero likes her.
That was lost on me. Okay. That'd be an interesting couple. Okay.
Appreciates her logic.
So they head back to sickbay on Voyager with Gwen, who's not doing great. The doctor looking after her, and then Janeway's like, "Don't worry, we'll deal with the debrief later, with the blame game later." I was like, "That's pretty progressive for Janeway."
I was gonna say, what the heck?
Janeway is not one for anyone messing up, that I recall.
For very stupid reasons too. There was definitely no good reason why any of that went down.
Yeah.
B'Elanna and Seven got so many talking tos in their office, like so many.
But they're able to save Gwen with this sort of armband thing that is going to sort of keep her tethered in time temporarily. It's not a permanent solution, but it's going to stop her from fluctuating for a little while. And oh yeah, then they find out. Yeah, here's Murph talking to who knows who it is. Maybe Chakotay.
Okay, see, I remember this.
Archer.
Maybe it's Archer. And that's
it's Daniels.
It's Daniels. It's Kovich, I guess. From Discovery. Anyway, so that's the end of episode. Yeah, because I know you don't really watch Discovery too much there.
I've been filled in on that though. That he's Daniels.
Yeah. Apparently, and who's the guy who plays Reed? Dominic Keating.
Yeah.
He was like, "What the hell?" It's kind of his thing, He's like, "What do you mean he's Daniels?" Like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, last episode, guys. Let's get into episode 5, titled. What is this one titled? Observer's Paradox. Un momento. All right, and I just
those first 4 were sort of like one story, kind of, and like this one sort of like starts the next one.
Starts the next beginning things here. Yeah, Observer's Paradox. We get to Voyager, and this kind of like this whole debrief sequence. Like we're finding out about what happened here. How did the shuttle go back in time? How did this whole mess get really going here? Janeway gives Dal coffee with sugar in it.
It's way better with sugar in it.
He's like, "Well, this is way better with sugar in it."
Or he seemed like he had a few cups before that too.
Yeah.
Popped up on it.
So we're kind of jumping from everybody's testimony throughout this whole like debrief sequence. It's kind of fun, all the characters get a moment. Murph, adding things to the proceedings. I'm like, how can Murph be in Starfleet if you can't talk to him and he can't talk to you? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if anything, he should at least do sign language or something. But anyway,
Janeway was just like, "Thank you, Murph. That was very enlightening. Thank you so much."
Yeah.
Good job.
It was funny. She's like, "Okay, yeah." Like, why did you invite him to the panel? What did you expect was going to happen? But anyway, Murph comes out. And they kind of talk about, well, like you saw the Tellarite guy here. He's not too happy with Jank and Pog and those kids, those crazy kids. But they were all ready to take the Infinity back in time and try to save Chakotay, despite what Jellicoe's ordering and all that. That was, so they're saying that it's hard that we can even get mad at them in return, which they all kind of agree to. So Janeway's saying that. Is this where Jellicoe calls? Or I think it comes later in the episode. But there's this whole thing in the mess hall where they're trying to figure out what to do, and Murph keeps stealing their food during the whole sequence, seemingly to eat it. Oh, but before that, there's this whole thing where Majel comes in, their new friend who went on that mission with them. But those Red Squad kids say, "Hey, Majel, you have to come sit at our table here in the mess hall." And they're like, "Well, you can join us." She's like, "No, I can't. I have to be with my Red Squad guys."
They all chanted Red Squad together. Red Squad,
Red Squad, Red Squad. It's true, they did. Got it. Red Squad, Red Squad. I like how they were just eating cheeseburgers. That was also like I thought was interesting here on the table. Anyway,
Some
Murph's
delicious street corn.
this is corn. Yeah, so Murph was creating a little spiral galaxy or something with all the food, which is then interrupted by Murph is trying to explain it. I guess this is what the Invisible Man told him about or something. Anyway, so they're like, how do we communicate with Murph? Oh yeah, they try to get the dog. Then the doctor comes along, but they don't want the doctor to know what's going on. They don't want like the adults to know. Sometimes the show like reminds me of like Tiny Toon Academy, where they don't want the Professor Bugs Bunny to know what's happening. Dow back with his books. Jank and Pog trying to escape the doctor. Yeah, the doctor's sort of like following them everywhere, and then Zero's like, I know how to occupy the doctor. Let's just ask him about his latest holo novel. And there was like a little bit of like dialogue there where the doctor's like running through the holo novel. He's like, well, Rodrigo is then talking to his holo duplicate, also named Rodrigo. And there's something about like the name Rodrigo that became very humorous to me in this episode. Yeah, going all through his holo novels.
They reference it later. He's like, "What's the doctor doing now?" He's probably adding another Rodrigo to his
holo novel. There's more Rodrigo duplicates. So they try to modify the universal translator to work on Murph, but it doesn't work. He says mushroom or something.
It's just a lot of things. It runs off yelling Saturday.
So they go to Rock Talk, who's cleaning the glass here at Cetacean Ops, talking to Jillian the whale, which is kind of fun.
And Navigator.
Navigator. Is she the Navigator? Is that what she does?
All the cetaceans are. That's what they're there for.
Right on. I can't remember the substance of this scene here with Dal and Gwen. Oh yeah, this is where they're trying to figure out the spiral. They find, and that's Chakotay's like, for his spirit quests, right?
I am far from the bones of my ancestors.
Yeah, you gotta have the spirit animal. They're kind of like, where does this come from? It's from a very specific tribe from like Central America that then migrated to a former Federation colony.
The rubber tree tribe, I think they called them.
Is that what they call? Yeah, matching results. Hey, were there any Starfleet officers on that colony? Yes, there happened to be one. It happened to be Chakotay. Commanding officer uses protos. It says he's from the rubber tree people tribe.
Mm.
If you're familiar with that. Born in... Sorry, I got to know now. 2329? Is that when he's born? All right. Anyway, so they're looking at the... What the hell is that?
Oh, it's the wormhole, isn't it?
Oh, it's the wormhole. Yeah. They're trying to figure out how to get the infinity going here. Oh, yeah. Then Jellicoe shows up. Ronnie Cox.
Get it done, Janeway. Get it done.
Yeah, he's like, we're pulling you back. We're pulling you out of this mission. She's like, but Chakotay.
You're not getting it done.
He's like, forget it. This is bigger than Chakotay now. We can't be worried about that. And I like how he's an admiral, but she's like a vice admiral, which yes is lower than him. But I don't know. I guess that's the boss. That's what she's got to do. He's not having it. Were you happy to see Jellicoe? Davan?
Always. Definitely.
Fun having him back. Isn't there one point where Janeway references Admiral Picard too?
Yeah, they basically I was surprised with that because I felt like that was definitely for adult fans. They strongly placed where this show was in the timeline because she said he's busy with the Romulan evacuation.
Yeah.
Right.
So
which will happen. It won't explode for another 3 years, but this is for the next 3 years. Basically, Picard is evacuating as many Romulans away as he can, but he doesn't get them all out of there.
So then he goes home to his vineyard and so.
Yeah, drinks wine with his dog, who he names after Riker.
You want to complain about too much like Star Wars? That's what was too much like Star Wars, Davan. Just Skywalker and Picard going off to their little planets to drink blue milk and sulk. And
So
No arguments for me.
they come to the conclusion here that they have to figure out what Murph is saying in order to get to the next thing that they're trying to get to. So they go to Rock Talk. Oh, if anyone can help us invent a universal translator to talk to Murph, it's got to be Rock Talk. But Rock Talk doesn't want any part of it. She's like, "You're going to get me expelled from Starfleet. I'm trying to be in the academy, and I'm trying to keep my nose clean, and all these things, right? You know." But they kind of appeal to her. Come on, we're a team, we're a family. You know, we need you, and who knows Murph better than you? Okay, fine. She kind of is won over here. Well, and Rock Talk devises that. Well, the Melanite slime worms, they evolved in the water. So maybe they need to be in water to communicate properly. Figures out that the whale is the one that will talk to her and all that, you know?
The whales were the answer. Oh.
There'll be whales here, Admiral. I know. I liked all this. This was like good, Rock Talk takes Murph into the actual tank along with a breather device. Of course, Rock Talk sinks like a stone.
This part made me emotional. I felt like, I don't know. I loved season 1, and Rock Talk was such a cute, like, she was such a sad character. She was so lonely.
Oh, yeah.
She had no friends. She was so sweet, and she bonded from like the first episode or whatever with Murph when they met, and like the fact that they're still like besties here, and she goes in the water with Murph is just so cute. I loved it so much.
It was nice. Once Murph is in the water, he turns into like kind of a fish thing.
It's pretty cool. Like it's kind of a squid thing going on there.
Right. Murph is glowing more, and then talking to Jillian the whale. Jillian's, I think I can understand.
Still kind of gibberish, though. Like,
it's still kind of gibberish.
Murph is just like that. Maybe it's just like a personal thing to him, where he's just kind of confused.
Yeah, we don't know how to compare him to anybody else, right? So,
no.
They kind of figure out this code, which doesn't make any sense at first, and then they figure out it's backwards or something.
Just the letters are in the wrong order, and then
He decides to spell everything.
I like that the letters were in the wrong order, but the numbers she inputs into her little device.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, those are probably correct.
Yeah, that was. I didn't like that.
In the right order.
Right. But before we come back to that, there's this whole scene here where Janeway's like, well, I guess we've been ordered by Jellicoe to abandon the search for Chakotay. And then everyone on the bridge is like, screw that shit. We're not doing that. You know, we're not letting Chakotay down. No way. We got to save him.
Akuchi Noah.
Yeah, the orders be damned. So Janeway goes to her quarters, I guess, or whatever this is. You know, she's looking at the rock that Chakotay gave her. You know, thinking back to the last time she saw Chakotay, and she's got to save him. You know, she's got to try to save him. He gave her that rock last time. Did they show us that in the first season? I don't know, but I like how she's even got her phaser, her old phaser from Voyager, on display there. You know, so she's got to try to get to Chakotay, and the doctor alongside here. I was like, yeah, go save him. Go take the Voyager A. Find me at 20742146. Okay, that's the message here from Murph. And then they're going. I guess they have a plan of action for the next episode, right? Is that kind of the conclusion?
No, she puts it in her device that's keeping her anchored, and then she disappears.
Yeah, this is where I was talking. Like, I was finishing this just as before we came on, and I was just like, "Why is she in space? What's happening here? Why is she floating out there?" And then she's kind of going through the wormhole. What was happening here, guys?
Oh, she's like getting. She took the thing off to mess with her temporal cohesion, and it's like sucked her into this like dimension here,
and then
where she communicates with Chakotay.
Well, somebody, they never said who it was, but then the voice comes back and it's like deep, and there's more to the message. It says, I forget what it said, something after "find me." I can't remember what. They finished the sentence that they told them.
Right, and they're going to come back. So that's the end of the 5th episode. It's kind of like a bit of a cliffhanger. What's going to happen next? And I guess we'll catch up next week when we talk about episodes 6 through 10. But yeah, so that's sort of... these first 5 episodes, like, and I think we're mostly positive on it. I think, Davan, seems, I think you would like a little bit more.
I liked episode 5 quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like all the whale stuff, I really like the rock dock stuff, and like it was a lot less Gwyn. Like it's just like for episode 2 and 3, it was just all the Gwyn and Diviner stuff, and just like season 1, I didn't care. And Dow was super annoying in the first couple episodes of this, and that was kind of annoying. So like, yeah, but Prodigy was like that in season 1 too. It took a little while to get going, like. And by the end of that season, it was just phenomenal. So, like, I'm hoping for something like that here.
I think for me, what I really like about the show is that even if there's something that you don't like, I like the pace of it. It never lingers too long. Like other shows, I felt like would have been like so long figuring out what Jaemeel was doing. It would have taken forever to find the ship, and like what I mean, the wormhole thing would have taken forever. Like they're just like go 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 go. Like the amount that we went through in just these 5 episodes was like that was a lot of stuff that happened. So even if there's something you're not liking, I feel like they just move at such a good pace that it's not going to be too much of something you're not in favor of. I feel like they keep moving it along.
Yeah. I mostly agree with that, except for in episode 2, I really think they kind of like sat around on that Gwyn Essentia stuff for a long time. Like they could have moved through that a little faster. Didn't need as many sword fights and.
Yeah, I felt like after the second episode was over, I kind of took a break. So I think that kind of maybe you got a point there, that and then when I came back to the third episode and I watched them through, it's like okay, like I'm down for this story. I think that the whole Diviner, Gwyn, all that storyline, like if you're not into it so much, then obviously anytime that's on screen, which is a lot of the time, it's going to drag you down. But I'm not necessarily down on it. I do want to see where this goes. I care about these characters, to varying degrees, and I want to see them succeed. And what's happened to Chakotay? He's a great character in his own right. So I want to know what happens to him. Seeing Janeway on this hunt, it's nice, But I'm with you. I feel like Dal regressing, going back to his idiot ways. Just for him to, again, have the same arc he's already had might be a little bit redundant. But, hey, I get why they're doing it, me too.
I feel like they kind of, I hope, moved on already from that. Because he was so reluctant to read anything. And then, okay, maybe I should read Temporal Mechanics 101. And he seemed really upset that he'd caused the issue in the first place, because obviously you could see the real consequences. He's almost getting his friend killed. So I'm hoping now we can move on from that and keep moving forward.
I don't know if we'll have any trivia tonight. I feel like the episodes are still so new that we won't really see that. But let's throw our ratings in while it's all still fresh in our minds.
Oh, gosh.
So I don't know if do we want to just we'll go through them one at a time. The first episode, Into the Breach Part 1. I will give it. I'll give it a 7.5. It was good.
7.
7 from Davan. Jessica?
I'm gonna say 8. I liked kind of catching up with where they were.
And Murphy, I have a spot there for you if you want to throw a rating in on your own right. Okay. For now, you're bringing it down with a 0. Into the Breach Part 2. I think, Davan, no secret, this is your least favorite of these 5 episodes. And I'm kind of with you. I feel like I probably go down to a 7 or something like that.
A 3.
Davan's going 3 for Part 2.
Yeah, I'll go 7. I think it was fair. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good.
Okay. And then go Who Saves the Saviors? So this is the episode where they actually do go back in time. This by accident, but it's mostly about them getting sent to the past, and everything else, and then they escape. Oh, he's giving me ratings there. He's getting 7, 6, 7.5.
67 he gave.
Oh, that's high.
My. 21 average.
Wow, Murphy.
No. All right. There. Okay. Fixed. Okay. Who Saves the Saviors? Maybe my preferred episode of these 5. I'll go 8 for that one.
I'm trying to remember where everything leads off. I'm like a little iffy on the 3, 4.
5 for me.
5 for episode 3. Well, this is the one where they went back in time, and this is where they saved Chakotay, and this by the end of it, it's kind of messed up the timeline.
Yeah, I'll say 7.5. I feel like it gradually improved, so I'm giving my space to go up.
Temporal Mechanics 101 is all about them coming back to the president and trying to save Gwyn.
7. Dr. Aaron bringing it back.
Dr. Aaron was here. This was all right. I go 7.3. And Jessica.
I'm going to go 8 just because I really like the Temporal Mechanics video explaining time travel and stuff. I really like that part.
That was good. Okay, and then the one that should be the most recent in our mind, Observer's Paradox. The debrief. This was Davan's preferred episode. Okay, 8.
Yep. There be whales here.
Oh, he gave...
Jillian's a star.
He gave... Sorry, I thought he put 8.8. He went 8 and 8. That's what he did. Okay. Dr. Aaron got big points for me. She was fun. She's great.
Yeah.
She's going to be on the Star Trek cruise with me next year, so I'll see her there.
Okay.
Okay, this last one, it was just the whole Rodrigo and his hollow duplicate Rodrigo. I think that line alone might get some points for me. It wasn't as my favorite, but I go 7.8 for that. And Jessica,
I'm going to go 8.5. I got to go. Murph's scene was touching. I loved it with Talk. I love the whales. Like Jillian, that was just great. I liked it. It was very emotional.
Great.
Left me wanting to watch more. So.
Yeah, no, it was very nice. I'm with you on that. So for these 5 episodes, we're averaging right now a 7.2. Sounds like we're okay. We're care, but obviously episode 2, Into the Breach Part 2, being our lowest rated one at 5.8, mostly coming down with Davan's 3.
Well, I would like to see these first 10 episodes conclude the Gwyn storyline, and then for the last 10 episodes, she can just join them at Starfleet or something. Like this whole separate thing. Yeah.
But the fact that like John Noble and Jimmy Simpson are here, it's like they have to make this about her because like. What else are those two going to do?
Another reason to hire voice actors, so you don't feel the pressure to force dumb characters into a show.
We got to get John Noble in here. We got John Noble. What are we doing with John Noble? It's I feel like that's part of the maybe why we're seeing that. Okay, well, Prodigy season 2. So I don't know. Do you want to know what the next couple titles are of the episodes we're going to do next?
I watched a bit of the next one, but I fell asleep because it was late.
So our next 5 episodes are Imposter Syndrome.
Yes, okay.
The Fast and the Curious. Is there in beauty no truth? So because the original episode with the Medusans was called Is There in Truth No Beauty? Right? And so this episode is going to be called Is There in Beauty No Truth? All right, and then the episode 9 and 10 are a part 1, part 2, to kind of, I guess, end the first part of season 2, and it's called The Devourer of All Things. Forget about the Diviner; it's about the Devourer.
Galactus is going to show up.
Yeah, Worldmind's coming. He's like, next time I'm here, I'm coming. And I'm
that ship has sailed, Murphy. You're dead to us. Dead.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a week's time to talk about the next 5 episodes, as mentioned. Let us know what you're thinking about the season of Prodigy. If you finished it, just don't spoil it for us, and throw your ratings in the comments and things like that. And be sure to like and subscribe and check out all our great content here on Live Long and Podcast. Monday nights, currently reviewing Star Trek, or not Star Trek at all. It's we're talking about the Orville right now. We're still in the first season.
Definitely not Star Trek.
Not Star Trek, but close enough in spirit. On there with Jody Simpson and the crew. On Tuesday nights, we're talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation. Also in the first season of our review there. I think we're doing Justice is our next installment. Look out for that. And and then Friday, we have our Debate 9 coming up. Where I just found out that Jessica is also going to be debating.
I apologize in advance for...
No, it's going to be great.
Knowing anything about anything.
No, it's perfect. Trust me. You're the professional debater in this crew. Don't even worry. So, yeah, we got Heather, Dave, and Jessica debating things Star Trek. It'll be great. I'll be there to poke the bear.
Yes. You poke the bear in our Science Division podcast. Check out all the great content here on Live Long and Podcast all the time. We got different stuff going on. And I think those are all the plugs, unless I've forgotten anything, Davan. If not,
no. I mean, go read Pliable Truths if you haven't yet by recent guest Dayton Ward. Damn good book. Go read it.
Go check it out. Dayton Ward. All right. Well, with that said, I think we'll sign off for the evening. It's been an hour and a half. Thanks for sticking with us if you're still here. And we'll see you on the next time. And I think we'll leave you with, I don't know. How about a random Diviner clip? Yeah. Okay.
Not Red Squad?
Red Squad. All right. We'll go out with
Give us a Jellicoe. Give us a...
Oh, I have Jellicoe somewhere.
All right. Give us a Jellicoe.
Just let me find him. Jellicoe. J-E-L. Here he is.
You had your orders. Should the Romulans attempt to steal it, destroy their protostar.
See you next time, everyone. Live Long and Podcast.
Nice.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.